Welcome to Weekly Sports Talk with Ed, episode 9. And today, got a lot to cover doing AEW All In Predictions, doing NFL predictions, standings, awards. Figured out the keys to winning the NBA championship. I'm gonna cover that as usual. Always do the athletes of the week in the WNBA. You got a race who's gonna get to 7 and 8 spot in the playoffs between three teams. Then I'm doing a book review on a book I read about one of the best women's wrestlers of all time. So stay tuned for all that. And to start off, I'm gonna get started with the AEW All In predictions. So AEW All In is tomorrow, and it's at 12 o'clock. The card right now doesn't look like that many matches. Well, for AEW card, it doesn't look like it's that many. First, starting with the biggest match that they're having. It's Swerve Strickland defending the AEW World Championship against Bryan Danielson. Title versus career. If Danielson loses, he retires from professional wrestling forever. And this is a really tough one to predict because it could really go either way. Because if Swerve wins, this is a big win for Swerve Strickland. Definitely helps it. He's been having a good reign with the title. Has some solid defenses, so he beat somebody like Bryan Danielson, who's an all-time great. That only helps him. But if Danielson wins, he finally gets to run with the AEW World Championship. And he's likely, if he does win, he likely retires next year, so he'll hold it for a few months. Then whoever he loses it to, he end up putting somebody over, or he could even lose it to Swerve Strickland if he holds it for a few months. But I'm going with Swerve for this one. I think he's done a great job as champion. I think he's going to continue to do that. Even this is AEW's biggest event, but I think it'll help Swerve for him to get a win over Bryan Danielson. I think Danielson wants to wrap it up. I mean, it is coming kind of quick because he did say this to be his last year as a full-time wrestler, but maybe he does just want to be at home. He probably just wants to be at home with his kids. Of course, he wants to wrestle because he always had a love for it, but it might be time to hang it up. And I think Swerve Strickland wins this match. Mercedes Monet is defending the TBS Women's Championship against Britt Baker. They've done a good job building this feud, especially with Britt missing 2 or 3 weeks uh, because of a suspension. But they've done a good job building up this feud. You got Mercedes, they got Camille in her corner, then Britt Baker, she's on her own. But Mercedes is a double champion. She doesn't need, but she also has the New Japan Women's Strong Championship. And since it's just for the TBS title, I think Britt Baker wins this match. She just came back recently. But again, a lot of these matches, there's a lot of different directions you would go in. So, but yeah, I'm picking Britt Baker to win that. MJF is defending the American title against Will Ospreay. First time they had a match, I was at that show. Went for an hour, basically, and MJF won. It was the international title at the time, but then MJF made the American title. I think this is gonna be a good match. I think MJF wins again because if Ospreay wins, that means they'll need to have a third match, and it can't happen at All Out. And I don't see them putting that third match on TV if it does happen, which is why I'm picking MJF to win because a pack already called out. Whoever wins this match, he gets a shot at All Out because he was supposed to get it at All In, but changed that. So I'm going with MJF for that match. Think he retains the title, then All Out, which is 2 weeks after All In. He faces he'll face Pac. But I won't be watching All Out. I just catch the highlights because that'll be $100 spent in 2 weeks. I'm gonna spend the money to watch All In, but not gonna spend it to watch All Out. Tony Storm is defending the Women's World Championship against Mariah May. Mariah May, she won the Owen Hart Foundation Cup. Immediately after winning, she turned on Tony Storm because it was a guaranteed world title shot for the men and women. Mariah May made a statement that she's done a great job, and I guess Mariah May is the heel in this. It's really confusing, and but I think this is Mariah May's moment. It's time for her to win a championship, and she's gonna become the new women's world champion. A triple threat tag team match with the Young Bucks, FTR, and the Acclaim for the World Tag Team titles. I, all of these matches, when you look at them, there's really can't really go wrong with who you who they pick to win. I think the Acclaim get the tag titles back. This match, I'm not really confident in picking a winner because all three of these teams are great. You got the Young Bucks who are current champions, uh, and they're the EVPs. So you got that storyline going with the school. FTR, it just came back not too long ago. Obviously, they're gonna be in the tag title picture, and the Acclaim they picked up some steam in the last few weeks. But this is a problem that AEW has. You got these three teams. That's really it. It's the Young Bucks, FTR, the Acclaim. You have those three teams. Outside of them, there's not another tag team you can really look at and say, like, yeah, these guys can be champions. Maybe Private Party, if they built them up right, they could definitely, but they just have to be built up better and they need more matches. They need more time and matches on Dynamite for me to look at them and say, they could be contenders for the championship. And I like Private Party. They're a fun team to watch, but I wouldn't call them a team that they're in this tag team title picture. And that's the problem with AEW. But I'm taking the Acclaim to win that. At a Casino Gauntlet Battle Royal, winner gets an AEW World Title shot at a time his choosing. This match is very confusing. Don't really understand it because everybody doesn't even have to enter the ring or come from backstage before the match ends. I'm going with John Moxley to win it because I'm pretty sure he's on the poster. Hasn't been seen in the last few weeks, but he's a guy you can easily stick him to the world title scene. So I think Moxley wins that. And I think a guy that makes an appearance in the match is Ricochet, as his contract with WWE expired not too long ago. And it's rumors circulating that he may have signed with AEW. So that would be the perfect time for him to make his debut. And whoever he eliminates, or who, yeah, he eliminates somebody, they eliminate him, whatever, they can start a feud off of that. You have some instant for Ricochet. He won't win it because it'll be you're not going to throw him into the title scene right away, especially not the world title scene. I'm picking Moxley to win the match. I'm picking Ricochet to make an appearance. Uh, got the coffin match for the TNT title. Jack Perry defending against Darby Allin. I think Darby Allin wins the TNT title back. Jack Perry's had a good run with it, but I don't see Darby Allin losing the coffin match. That's as simple as it gets. Chris Jericho is defending the FTW championship against Hook. The championship is stupid. This storyline is stupid. I don't like it. I think I mentioned this a few weeks ago. Haven't been invested. Uh, feel like Chris Jericho is taking TV time away from other people on Dynamite. You can put him on a Rampage or Collision and it'll be fine, but I don't think he needs to be on Dynamite. And all the time, he's a great wrestler, but at this point in his career, not what he needs to be doing. And then I'm picking Jericho to retain because Hook needs to fight for other titles. He can't be in this, oh, I'm the FTW champion forever. He can't do that. Hook is a great wrestler. His promo skills, it needs some work, but he's a really good wrestler. And you can build him up to win other championships and go after the international title, go after the continental title. He needs to be going after other titles instead of just fighting for the FTW championship all the time. I think it's repetitive, and I'm tired of seeing him in these FTW championship matches. So, surprisingly, I'm predicting. I hope that Chris Jericho wins because if Hook loses, he can't challenge for the title again as long as Jericho is champion. And if that goes on for a few more months, Hook he can get in. He can get a few wins, build himself back up, and get in another title picture. There's a four-way trios ladder match for the trios titles. The Patriarchy are the champions defending against the Bang Bang Gang, the House of Black, and another trio that hasn't been determined at the moment that I'm recording this. Collision is going on right now as I'm well, actually, well, 6:55 right now, but Collision will be starting in 5 minutes as I'm recording this. So I won't know who's the fourth team until later tonight when Collision goes off. But whoever that might be, don't think they're winning. I think the House of Black is winning the trios titles back. They're all back together, all healthy. And the House of Black, you can never go wrong putting titles on them. Still kind of confused on why it got stripped away from the Bang Bang Gang. And then Christian saying that Luchasaurus doesn't deserve the title or whatever. It's very confusing. So I can see Luchasaurus maybe trying to on Christian and Nick Wayne. Shout out to Nick Wayne, being the youngest champion in AEW history. I don't know if I mentioned that a few weeks ago when that happened. But yeah, and the last match that I know of, like I said, Collision is going to be here in a few minutes, so anything could change. I mean, a few more matches could be added, what I'm saying, but the last match that I know of is Chris Statlander and Stokely Hathaway versus Willow Nightingale and Tomohiro Ishii. I think Willow and Ishii win, but seeing Stokely have a match is going to be cool because I haven't seen him in a wrestling ring ever in AEW. Yeah, but it's a mixed tag team match. I think this is finally going to end the rivalry with Willow Nightingale, Chris Statlander. I liked it from when they first started, did the turn, but I feel like it's getting stale at this point. And you get Willow to win in this tag match, you get that all over with, and both of them can move on to other stuff. That's it for my AEW All In Predictions. The next topic is the keys to winning the NBA championship. So every season since 2020, actually since 20, from 2018 to now, it's been a different champion each year. Well, no, that's not right. From 2019 to now, because the Warriors won twice within that span. We got 2019, the Raptors won the championship. 2020, it was the Lakers. 2021, it was the Bucks. 2022, it was the Warriors. 23, the Nuggets. And then this year, it was the Celtics. And there's six keys to winning the NBA championship. And this isn't really in any order, but one thing you for sure need is a top 10 defense. Now, in rare occasions, there are teams like the 2023 Nuggets that are able to win a championship without having a top 10 defense. But majority of the time, your defense needs to be top 10. You have to be able to get stops. You have to go over to make the other team turn the ball over. You got to force them into tough situations. But along with having a top 10 defense, you must also have a top 10 offense, which is something that the Celtics had this year. The Celtics had a top 10 offense and defense. If you're able to get stops, you need to be able to score off those stops. You need to be able to push the pace, push the tempo, get up buckets, especially get up threes, which the Celtics did. That's when the 3-point shooting era, but you got to have a good offense as well. The next thing is good coaching. That's really based off of history, like how good has his coach been on the past and the type of rosters he's had. Eric Spoelstra, one of the best coaches in the league, never won Coach of the Year, which is surprising. But you see, the Heat, they if Jimmy Butler was Celtics, I don't think they beat the Celtics, but they have a fighting chance. And even then, they were able to take game two in the series that most people thought they would have got swept without Jimmy Butler. So you got to have good coaching in the playoffs. Jason Kidd for Dallas, great coach, led them to the NBA Finals. Mike Malone, great coach for Denver. Great coaching goes into this, and you can apply some of these same things into football if you wanted to. I'm just focused on basketball right now. Another thing you got to have is relatively good health. As you saw, Dallas and the Celtics, they were sort of two teams that got to the finals. They didn't really have any major injury concerns. For the Celtics, their biggest injury concern was for Porzingis, but for majority of the season, he was healthy. It was just come playoff time. But you need your stars to be healthy. You see a team like the Pelicans, they'll never make a deep run because either Zion is injured or Brandon Ingram is injured, and you can't have that come playoff time. Like in the like now the Pelicans have guys that can back them up, and they probably will trade Ingram, but Zion is still your superstar player. So if he gets injured, then that's gonna throw off the team's whole rhythm. Because it makes it easier to game plan against your team because now your superstar player is out. So that's why a team like the Pelicans, it's hard for me to see them making a deep run led by Zion when he's the number one option, but he's consistently injured. And last season, he was pretty healthy, but then it came in the play-in game, he got injured, and that was just unfortunate. And then you need a superstar and two all-star caliber players. Now, Dallas was able to get away with this because post All-Star break, they had a, well, this is to win the championship. You can get to the final for just having two stars, but to win the championship, you need one superstar and two all-star caliber players. You see, the Celtics had it. They had Tatum, who's a top 10 player, had Jalen Brown, Drew Holiday, even Porzingis. They're all all-star caliber players, and we know Jalen Brown is an all-star. So, like OKC, so far as I went down this criteria, OKC fits all this. They'll have a top 10 offense. The defense improved, getting Hartenstein and Caruso. They have good health. You don't really have any injury concerns with them. Mike uh Mike Dayton Hall, I think his name is. Oh, not Mark Dayton Hall. He's a good coach. Then you have Shea, who's a superstar. Then Chet and J-Dub, they haven't been all stars yet, but they're definitely all-star caliber, and one of them is probably gonna make the all-star team along with Shea this season. Then the last thing you need, and like I said, this is no order, but you need bench depth as well. See Dallas, Boston, those Minnesota, the Pacers, they had deep teams. That's why they were able to go to the conference finals. As you see, the Nuggets, their depth keeps getting worse each season, which is why they went from winning the championship to losing in the second round the next year. Then we don't know what's going to happen this year. They might still be a top team in the West because of their talent. But when it comes down to contending for a championship, when the game slows down, they won't, they probably won't be contending for a championship because the depth is just not there. Got to have good depth. So the keys to winning the NBA championship is having a top 10 defense, a top 10 offense, good coaching, great health, a superstar surrounded by two all-star caliber players and finished it. There's three teams that fit this criteria at the moment. It's OKC, like I mentioned. It's Boston, as we just saw they had all this last year. And the Knicks, the team improved. Only injury concerns really is Julius Randle. So relatively, their health is great. So even the Knicks, they fit all this criteria. Now, some of you may say, what about a team like the 76ers? Well, you're two Well, you have Embiid and Paul George, who both have injury history, so they only fit five of the six criteria. So they can make a deep run, but I can't see them winning the championship because they only fit five of the six. So I think it comes down to three teams. I think OKC is a clear favorite in the East, and I think the conference finals comes down to Boston and New York. And I'll talk about that in a few weeks when I do my NBA predictions. But I'm not doing that right now. But that's my stance on that. And next, first time I'm doing this, but I read this book. It was called The Woman Who Would Be King, the Madusa Stories. For those who aren't familiar with Madusa, she also, real name, Deborah Michelle, also went by Alundra Blaze. She was Madusa in WCW, Alundra Blaze, and WWE, went by Madusa and Monster Truck. And she was one of the best women's wrestlers of all time, wrestled in the 80s and 90s. I read her book. It was a really good book. I enjoyed it, and I figured why not do a book review on my podcast? And this is the book right here. Yeah, you can get this on Amazon. I forgot how much it was, but I've been getting into reading recently, and it's really inspiring. Uh, One of the first things in the book, she talked about how she had a bad relationship with her mom, and that's sad to hear because I have a great relationship with my mom, and I know not everybody has that. So, and then she talked about it how her mom basically hated her, and there was a lot of highs and lows in this book. There was definitely one of the low parts of it, Like that's just sad to see. Like how can you bring somebody into the world and just not love them for who they are and supporting what they want to do? But Medusa, obviously that hurt her in a way, but she didn't let that affect her long term. She was able to move on from it. And but one thing about she was lied to about who her dad was. She always believed there was this one guy, I forget his name, but there was another reason why she didn't like her mom because she lied to her about who her real dad was because they had issues. Her her mom, her real dad, and then the dad that she supposedly had. Uh, uh, I don't know if I can use that word, but and he touched Medusa, and that was really painful for her. Just like being lied to about who her dad was, and then saying God touching her, and her mom doing nothing about it, just not caring. And then back to her real dad, she was able to get in touch with him, and she had like like a few. She was able to get in touch with him before he passed away, and she found out that she had a brother and a sister, and she got to talk to them. And she she said she enjoyed it because she always wanted siblings when she was growing up. And then to find out that she had siblings and never knew it, she started to connect with her brother and sister. She would talk to them separately. They would talk about so many different things just about life. And another thing, she had multiple surgeries. Like I said, she was a wrestler. Well, I can talk about her wrestling career before I get to the surgeries, but she wrestled in WW. It was WWF at the time, WWE now. Didn't feel she was getting treated right there. Well, before she was in WWE, she was wrestling in Japan and she was having fun making money over there. But she found a great opportunity coming to America to wrestle for WWE. She took it and it was fun at first, but then eventually wasn't getting treated right. And this the era when Vince he's starting to get in charge in kind of like the 90s. I think his dad is still pretty much in charge at that point, but Vince is starting to get more power at that point. Things weren't going well. Went to WCW, said she was Madusa, and that's when she threw the women's title in a trash can, made a name for herself there. And then she had a great career in WWE and WCW. She ended up making the WWE Hall of Fame. And like I said, the multiple surgeries, all that. But she was also did monster truck driving. She participated in some of those. Thought that was a good opportunity to have fun with that. And from the monster trucks to the wrestling, all that catching up to her. She had multiple surgeries in like 2013, had a knee replacement. That's pretty much, it pretty much sums it up without telling you like everything that's in the book. Like one of the best wrestlers, one of the best women's wrestlers, one of the pioneers for women's wrestling. She was in the era in the 80s and 90s where there was it wasn't looked at to be a people weren't saying women's wrestling as like a good thing, but there was the era before it became sexualized and all that in the early 2000s. But yeah, like I said, I enjoyed reading the story. This is short little book review about some of the key things I found in there for wrestling fans, people that love women's wrestling. You may have heard of Madusa or know some stuff about it, but if you want to know more, it's a good book to dive into, learn some more. And that's it. Now I'm gonna get into my NFL predictions. And then I gotta pull some stuff up for this. So give me a second. Okay, we're gonna start with the I'm gonna start with the records predictions. I'm gonna go with the AFC, start the AFC South. I think the Texans go 11-6, finish first in the division. They added Stephon Diggs. They added now you got three great receivers in Diggs, Tank Dell, and Nico Collins. They added a running back They added Joe Mixon. He's gonna be good. I think the Texans are gonna have a good season, finish first in their division. I think the Colts finished second with a 10-7 record. I like, even though Anthony Richardson only played 5 games last year, I like what he was doing. He kind of reminded me of what Cam Newton was. I feel like he can be that, and he can lead the Colts to a 10-7 record, finishing second in the division. And I'm really high on Anthony Richardson. I see a lot with him. I think the Titans and Jaguars both finished 6 and 11. Not really impressed by either of these teams. I like Trevor Lawrence. I hope he does well, but looking at the Jaguar schedule, I don't see them being great this season. And the Titans, all they did was lose to lost Henry. I think Will Levis is starting quarterback now. Yeah, that's it for the AFC South. For the AFC East, this division is going to be really tough. The Patriots are the worst team here by far. They're going to finish 4-13, maybe even worse than that. But yeah, I gave them 4 wins. I think they win 4 games. I think the Bills go 10-7. I think they have a down year and end up missing the playoffs despite going 10-7. Because I think I love Josh Allen. I think Keon Coleman will be great, but I think they're not as talented as some of the other teams, especially without having a clear wide receiver one. But I think they're still good. They just won't. And they could make the playoffs. I don't see it. I think they miss it by a game with a 10-7 record. I think the Dolphins and Jets both go 11-6, but Dolphins had a tiebreaker and finished first in the division. Like the Dolphins, uh, Tua, with him having Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle, then them being one of the fastest teams in the league, they didn't really regress. The Jets, you're banking on Aaron Rodgers being healthy, making on a breakout season from Garrett Wilson. So, but the AFC East is helpful, especially with the Jets, Dolphins, and Bills. All three of these teams are going to be competitive, fighting for the playoffs. And I don't think all three of them get in. I only think two get in, which is the Jets and the Dolphins. But I could be completely wrong about that. The AFC West, the Broncos are far and away the worst team here. I think they finished 4-13. Both Knicks look good in preseason. Preseason don't always translate. He could still be good in the regular season, but the Broncos just aren't talented enough to be a good team. They're in a tough division with 3 teams who are at least mediocre at worst. The Broncos, they're just not a good team. Not really much for Bo Nix to operate with. So I say they finish 4-13. The Chiefs go 12-5, win the division again. Uh, how many consecutive seasons? I think it's 9 at this point, but they're going to win the division again. Mahomes, obviously, amazing. I think Rasheed Rice will be good. Kelsey won't be, he won't have a down year like he did last year, even though he's Asian. I don't think that he have a down year like he did last year. I don't think the Chiefs are going to lead the league in drops again. And even with them leading the leagues in drops, they were able to win the division, which was still very impressive. The Raiders have some quarterback issues, but the defense is amazing. Antonio Pierce is a good coach. I think he gets them to 8 wins. Aiden O'Connell, Gardner Minshew, not really paying attention to who was winning that battle. I think Gardner Minshew is the better pick for a quarterback, especially him leading the Colts to him leading the nearly leading the Colts to the playoffs after Anthony Richardson went down. I think Gardner Minshew would be best to start for the Raiders. You still got Devontae Adams. I expect Brock Bowers to be great. I think the Raiders finish 9-8. Then maybe next year they become a playoff team. I had the Chargers going 8-9. Know they got a new coach. Herbert to be healthy. The defense, I still don't trust. Like, there's some talent there, but they don't really mix. The offense, outside of Herbert, I don't really know how to feel about it. That's as much for the AFC West. Uh, AFC North, I think I think every team in the North Division finishes with a tie in the regular season. Now, I could be wrong, but most seasons there's been a tie. It wasn't one this past season. I think the Steelers finished worst at 3-13 and won, tying with the Bengals in Week 18. I don't think the Steelers are talented, at, especially on off. The defense will still be good, but I don't think the offense is talented enough to keep them in that winning over 8 games. I look at the schedule. I don't see them winning majority of their games. I just feel like a lot of the teams they're facing are more talented. So their only divisions I see them getting are two individual wins against the Browns and Ravens and one against the Giants. And then Justin Fields and Russell Wilson, they haven't even looked good. So that's a bad sign. When I look at these guys, most people look at these guys, both of these guys are starting caliber quarterbacks. And somebody's going to be coming off the bench, and neither one of them are looking good. So that's not a great sign. Like I said, say they top the Bengals, so I might as well. I got the Bengals going 10-6-1. Like I said, they top the Steelers in Week 18. Joe Burrow is healthy. You know they lost Mixon, but you still got Jamar Chase and T. Higgins. I think they'll be good this year. The Browns, I have them and the Ravens tying in Week 18. Got the Browns going 9-7-1. Defense still good. Deshaun Watson is back. Don't really have too much to say about the offense. Don't know how it's going to go with Deshaun at the QB again because he didn't play that much last season due to an injury. I think the Ravens still far and away the best team in this division. Goes 13-3-1. You add Derrick Henry, who you just had one of the best running seasons all time. Just had you had a really good running team last year. Then you're going to upgrade and get Derrick Henry. Then you get they got Nate Wiggins in the draft, if I'm not mistaken. So you upgrade there on defense. And this team's still really good. You got Lamar, who just won his second MVP. So you know he's motivated. So that's everything I have for the AFC. For the Now moving to the NFC, I'm gonna start with the South. I think the Panthers will be the worst team again, but I think they finished 5-12. They can win more than 2 games. I like Bryce Young. I think he improves this year. He still doesn't have the help that I would like him to have in Carolina, but it's hard trying to get people to come to Carolina. But I think he'll improve. They'll win 5 games this year, and people will see that he's a good quarterback. He just needs some help out there in Carolina. I think the Saints go 6-11. The schedule is Their schedule isn't pretty. Not really. I don't see the Saints doing much. But yeah, I think they won 8 or 9 games last year. Definitely think they're worse than what they were last year. The Buccaneers still got Baker and Mike Evans, and the defense is still good. They'll go 9-8. Feel like the Buccaneers. They're still just a mediocre team, and there's nothing wrong with that. Especially for a team like the Buccaneers being led by Baker Mayfield. He's got them to the playoffs the last few years, so it's like it's working. So keep rocking with it. And he got the Buccaneers to the second round last year. But I think Atlanta finishes 10-7 and they win the division. Uh, People have been saying that Atlanta's going to improve these last few years. I think this year is when the improvement is coming. I think they finish 10-7 and they win that division. At the NFC East, let me just say the Giants are absolutely trash. They're winning 1 game this season, if that. The Giants are going 1-16. The team isn't talented. You lost Saquon. Daniel Jones looks terrible in preseason. Outside of Kayvon Thibodeau, where's the bright spots on defense? I guess you got Dexter Lawrence too, but there's not many bright spots on defense. Yeah, this team it's bad. They're going to be worse than they're going to be worse than the league. They'll get the first pick, draft a quarterback to replace Daniel Jones because his time in New York is up after the season. The Commanders, I see them going 7-10. They won 4 games last year, and I think I predicted them winning 4 games last year. Then I predicted them to win seven, go 7-10. Feel like they made some improvements. I think Jaden Daniels will be good. And their improvements, they were very mediocre improvements, but if your improvement goes makes your team bad and makes them mediocre, that's a good thing because it means that you're slowly building into a good team. So maybe next year they win 9 or 10 games and they just keep building onto that. So I think they go 7-10. They have a solid roster, expecting good things from Dayton Daniels. They did just trade Jahan Dotson, and I did make these predictions before that happened. So maybe that affects Jaden Daniels, maybe it doesn't. Cowboys, I got going 10-7. They didn't get worse. They just didn't add anything to the roster. They're still the same team as last year. And Deron Bland is out 6 to 8 weeks having foot surgery. So prayers up to him. Never want to see nobody injured. Hope his recovery goes well. Hope the surgery goes well. But he is out for 2 months basically. And he was one of their best players on defense last year, setting the record for most pick sixes. He does gamble a lot, but he's still really good. He's still really good as a CB. Then I think the Eagles finished 14-3, made some improvements. Got Saquon Barkley, just added Jahan Dotson for whatever reason. The defense I expect to be better than what it was last year. They added a cornerback. He was Cooper DeJean. They got Cooper DeJean. I think he will be great. So I think that's how the NFC East plays out. For the West, I have I expect the Seahawks to fall off. I think they go 5-12. And you got to realize every team can't be good. Some of these teams just have to be bad. So it's not even like some of these teams in may have improved or gotten worse. But it really comes down to the schedule and do I see them beating this team? Do I think they're better than them or good enough to beat them? And there are some upsets in my predictions. Like I think the Patriots beat the Bengals week 1 because the Bengals always struggle to start the season. So I think there is going to be some upsets, but I think Seattle, you still have Geno. Geno had one really good season. Then last year he was okay. And I don't really see him getting any better. I think he's only regressing because of his age. So I definitely think that'll play a factor to it. So I think they finished with the worst record in the NFC West. It's not like I want them to be bad, but I think they're not as good. I don't think they'll be as good as they were last year. The Cardinals, I see, with a fully healthy Kyler Murray, their range is anywhere from 6 to 9 wins, but I think they win 6 games this year. Like I said, they could have easily been out in the hunt for the playoffs. But I look at the schedule and I say, do I really see them beating this team? Maybe, maybe not. Do I see them getting wins here and there? They can win 6 games, cause but they did lose Hollywood Brown. So you get Marvin Harrison, and I think he'll have a really good season. But I don't think the Cardinals' time is now. I think they still need to make some upgrades. The Rams had them going 8-9. They made Yeah, not really a fan of this division, especially when I'm looking at all their schedules and saying, well, who are they? I think the Rams are just going to be mediocre this season. I expect to fall off from them. Then the 49ers, I got going 13-4. And Brandon Ayuk could be traded right now. And I, he hasn't been traded, but that would have been wild if he was while I was recording. But Brandon Ayuk could be traded at any moment or not. That's just before the Ayuk trade, if it does go down. So I had the 49ers at 13-4. And also the Trent Williams stuff, I forgot that he's holding out. So if you lose Trent Williams and you lose Brandon Ayuk, maybe this is a 10-win team. Maybe even the Rams sneak up there and win the division. But yeah, the 49ers got some problems going on, and these predictions were made before that. So whatever happens, happens. In the NFC North, Vikings going 4-13. JJ McCarthy is already out for the season. So now I don't know who the quarterback is. Justin Jefferson, he's probably going to request a trade after this year. He's going to get fed up with being in Minnesota. The Bears, I got going 9-8. With the additions they made, getting Keenan Allen, Roma Doomsday, Caleb Williams, that this team is going to be really good. Not really good. It's going to be a good team. Better than the last seasons. They went 7-10, stuff like that. They'll win 9 games. Might be right out the playoffs, be close to making it. But then next year, they'll probably add some more people in the off season. Then they'll be winning 11 to 12 games. And Caleb Williams, he has a chance to become the greatest Bears quarterback of all time. I don't think it's that much pressure on him to do that because the Bears historically haven't had great quarterbacks. But there is a lot of pressure on him, and I'm expecting him to be great. Then I have the Packers and Lions going 13-4. Both of these teams are really good, but the I think the Lions get the tiebreaker. I think the Lions are still the better team than the Packers. And now that I've said all this, the way that I did this, looked at who won, how many games, like the tiebreakers. It was a long process, but in the AFC, the 1 seed was the Ravens, 2 was the Chiefs, 3 was the Texans, 4 was the Dolphins, 5 was the Jets, 6 was the Bengals, and 7 was the Colts. So those are the 7 teams I have making the NFL playoffs after in the AFC. Then the teams that just missed it and were over 500 was the Bills, Browns, and Raiders. All 3 of those teams were over 500 but ended up missing it, are very close to making it. Then you got the teams below them, the Chargers, Jags, Titans, Patriots, Broncos, Steelers. Those were the last teams. I don't think nobody's expecting much out of those teams, except maybe the Chargers. I could definitely see people having the Chargers higher than what I had them. Then in the NFC, the way things played out, at the Eagles, the first seed was the Eagles, second was the Lions, 3 was the 49ers, 4 was the Falcons, 5 was the Packers, 6 was the Cowboys, 7 was the Buccaneers. For those in the NFC, those are 7 teams I have making the playoffs. And then right outside of that was the Bears, was the only other team over 500, and they were 9-8. But the Buccaneers, I don't think they play each other. But the way I looked at the division record, conference records, all that, and the Buccaneers ended up with the tiebreaker from looking at all that stuff. Then after that, you got the Commanders, Cardinals, Saints, Seahawks, Panthers, Vikings, and Giants. And I'm almost done with my predictions. And now I just got to get into the award predictions. And then I can move on to the next topic. For the award predictions for MVP, I went Jalen Hurts. I think he leads the Eagles to a really good season, kind of like what he did in 2022, but this time he wins MVP. Well, yeah, 2022-23 season. I think the runner-up is going to be Lamar Jackson. I think he's still in the race. Going to lead the Ravens to a top seed again. I think a sleeper pick is Tyreek Hill. Because if the Dolphins are really good, it's going to be because of Tyreek Hill, and he'll be in that race again just like he was last year. For Offensive Player of the Year, I'm going with Tyreek Hill. Nearly reached 2K last year. Don't know. He'll probably be at that level again this year. But Tyreek Hill, one of the most elite offensive players in the league. Runner up, I had Amon-Ra St. Brown from the Lions. And they're going to win 13 games. He don't have to be elite. He can do that. So I'm expecting a great season from him. Maybe even he could win it. Then a sleeper, I picked Bijan Robinson for the Falcons. Obviously, you got Drake London, extra wide receiver one, with Kirk Cousins as a quarterback. But I think Bijan still have a good season. So I think he could be in the running for Offensive Player of the Year. For Defensive Player of the Year, Michael Parsons. The Cowboys might finish just second in their division and sixth in the conference. But Michael Parsons, he's amazing. He's gonna get a defense player of the year. And I think this is the year. Runner up was Miles Garrett because the Browns aren't making the playoffs. From my predictions, remember I'm looking at this from my predictions. The best he can finish is runner up because I want to see him win it if it stays out in the playoffs. But then a sleeper pick is Will Anderson Jr. from the Texans. I think he'll have a really good season, be really impactful. Offensive rookie of the year, I'm picking Caleb Williams. I think he leads the Bears to 9 wins. I think he has a great season and he has a great future ahead of him. Runner up, I went with Keon Coleman. Definitely, if the Bills make the playoffs, it's going to be because of him, because of what he can do, his impact he can have as a rookie. Then a sleeper pick, I went with Jaden Daniels. I think the Commanders could be decent this year. I see them winning at least 7 games, but if they win more than that, Jaden Daniels and Caleb Williams, that could be a tight race for which quarterback is offensive rookie of the year. And you can't leave out Keon Coleman, maybe even Marvin Harrison. He could be in the running too. Defensive rookie of the year, uh, Lato from the Colts. I think he'll have to have a big impact for the Colts to make the playoffs, like I predicted. Uh, Runner up, Chop Robinson for the Dolphins. He'll have a great year. And then my sleeper pick, it was Cooper DeJean from the Eagles. I think our defense is going to be improved. I think he'll play a big part in that. Coach of the year, I went with Raheem Morris from the Falcons. I think that being able to lead them to the playoffs, even if they're just the fourth in the NFC, it's still going to be great for the Falcons, especially at the shortcomings they had ever since the Super Bowl where they blew a 28-3 lead. Runner up, John Harbaugh of the Ravens, they're going to have another great season. Then sleeper, Shane Steichen from the Colts, they can have a good year. If they can win the division, he definitely wins that award. Then comeback player of the year, Aaron Rodgers. I think that's the obvious pick. Everybody expects to just be great. I expect them to be great. And for that to happen, Aaron Rodgers has to be Aaron Rodgers. And I predict him to win. Runner up, I got Nick Chubb. Then sleeper pick is Kyler Murray. If the Cardinals have a good season, Kyler Murray could definitely be up there. That's that's all I have for my NFL predictions. So I'll move into the next topic, which is the WNBA race to 7 and 8. There are 3 teams, right? There's 12 teams in the WNBA and only 8 can make the playoffs. Right now, the 7th seed is the Indiana Fever at 13 and 15. 8 is the Chicago Sky at 11 and 17. And 9 is the Atlanta Dream at 10 and 18. And I haven't watched any games on this Saturday as I'm recording this, just for reference, in case anything changes by the time this is out. But the Fever, led by Caitlin Clark, their next 3 games, they faced Minnesota Lynx, who are 21 and 8, the Atlanta Dream, who are 10 and 18, and the Connecticut Sun, who are 21 and 7. So 2 teams, both over 500, and it's only a month left in the season, a little less than a month. So, and all these games are important for all 3 of these teams because these are the teams only. There's 3 teams fighting for 2 spots basically because the teams below them aren't close to the playoffs than the teams above them. Pretty much a lot. I mean, 6 is the Mercury, led by Brittany Griner and Diana Taurasi. But I think they're pretty much a lock, even though they're only 2 games over 500. Last time I checked. Then you got the Chicago Sky, who are 11 and 17, led by Camila Cardoso and Angel Reese. Their next 3 games, the 17 and 11 Aces, the 7 and 22 Mystics, and the Fever, who are 13 and 15. Then 9, like I said, Atlanta Dream, who's 10 and 18, led by Alicia Gray. Their next 3 games, the Indiana Fever, 13 and 15, Seattle Storm, 18 and 10, Las Vegas Aces, 17 and 11. So basically, all these, Atlanta has to go 3-0 in the next 3. The Fever pretty much they had to go 2-1, and then the Sky they have to the Sky the Sky and Dream can't afford to lose any of their next games coming up, and in their next three they don't play each other. But the Fever they can they can afford to lose only one game. They have to win at least two of these games, and two of them they're facing teams with 20 plus wins. So this is a very competitive race. It's been fun seeing Indiana led by Ricky Cable Clark. They going crazy. They started off they started slow to start the season. They didn't pick it up since then. Even the Chicago Sky, they didn't got themselves into the playoff picture. Cardosa, she was out for the first few games, and then she came back, started getting into a rhythm. It took them a minute to adjust, but now they're in the playoff picture. And then you got the Atlanta Dream, where they just a game outside of it. And our last two WNBA reactions, how to react to them. It seemed like they've been playing some good team ball. They lost the last game. They definitely needed to win. But luckily, Chicago lost two, so it still keeps them just a game out. But 7 through 9, you talking about two spots available between the Fever, Sky, and the Dream. And I don't know. I think I think Indiana's gonna lock up the 7 at the end of the season, man. The 7th seed. They probably gonna lose in the first round, but that's fine. It's Caitlin Clark rookie year. It's still impressive that she didn't lead them this far. But then when it comes to the 8 and that 9, I just don't know because I feel like Cordosa, she's been on fire recently, but the Sky, they still been losing. And with the Dream, it's like Alicia Gracie been doing her thing. But looking at, I don't know, it could go either way between the Dream and the Sky. I'm gonna say the Dream taking and they end up making the playoffs instead of Chicago. They get in by winning one more game, and I think that's how it plays out to end the season. But yeah, it's a really tight race in the WNBA. It's been fun to watch. I'm enjoying it. But now they can lead me into my next segment. As always, we got the athletes of the week. So for the WNBA athlete of the week, I went with Alyssa Thomas out of Connecticut Sun. They went 2-1 this week. She averaged 11.3 points, 8.3 assists, 11 rebounds per game, 45.1 field goal percentage, 54.5 free throw percentage. She had a really good week. Numbers might not be crazy. You might say, oh, 11, 8 and 11. That's very valuable to get her team wins that they need. Like it's getting close to the end of the season, and every win matters now. Because she had a really good week. I was impressed with what she did. 11, 11.3 points, 8.3 assists, 11 rebounds. That's really impressive. She's everywhere. And shooting 45% from the field. Free throw percentage isn't great, but she's a power forward. And she only attempted 1 3 all week. She missed it, but it's fine. For AEW, I went with Kazuchika Okada, the Continental Champion. He had a great match with Claudio Castagnoli on AEW Dynamite, where he retained it. He retained because it ended in a time limit draw, but the match was really good. And they're giving it to Okada. Enjoy watching both of them wrestle. I definitely want to see them running back. They'll likely do it at All Out, which unfortunately I'm not gonna buy. But I could just catch the highlights after that. Then for WWE, I went with Aladon and Alpha Fire, aka the Unholy Union. On Monday, they had a triple threat tag team match against Damage Control and Pure Fusion Collective, which they won. And what was a really good uh, a triple threat tag team match. It was really fun to watch. And Unholy Union retain their titles. And then that was one of the best matches from Monday night. Then on SmackDown, they were in a trios match where they teamed up with Blair Davenport to take on Bianca Belair, Jade Cargill, and Naomi. And even though they lost, it was a really fun match and the best match on SmackDown. So I had to get an Unholy Union their props. So shout out to Alpha Fire and Abaddon, the current women's tag team champions. But that is it for this edition of Weekly Sports Talk with Ed. Make sure you leave a like on the video, subscribe to the channel, and comment your thoughts on anything that I talked about today. Peace.